Tua Tagovailoa. Wow, what an interesting name to bring up in the NFL universe. There are two sides as to how NFL fans and media feel about Tua Tagovailoa. This is Sports Guy talking that you guys are watching and listening to. I am Dustin Tran, your host, as I am here today to talk about Tua Tagovailoa, as he has currently led the Dolphins to a 10-4 record. Even without Tyreek Hill playing last week against the Jets, Tua Tagovailoa still managed to play an efficient game as the Dolphins won their 10th game of the 2023 NFL season. However, the Dolphins have not beat a team over 500 the entire season, which has caused some people to consider them overrated when compared to other contenders in the AFC. Before I say anything else though, I want to present you guys with the topic question. So here it is. Have the Dolphins become an overrated team? Absolutely. Don't get fooled by their win-loss record. This is like the equivalency of a college football team that went 13-0, but they played nobody the entire season. And what did the College Football Playoff Committee do with Florida State? They kicked them out of the College Football Playoff. Now, did I think that was a bit harsh? Yes, but I'm going to go ahead and use the same logic for the Miami Dolphins. I think the Miami Dolphins are incredibly overrated when you compare them to other AFC teams. They haven't beaten a team with a winning record. When you look at Tua Tagovailoa, yes, he's putting up good stats. Yes, he's put himself in the MVP conversation. But does anybody actually think Tua Tagovailoa is an elite quarterback? Because I don't think he's an elite quarterback. I think he's a good quarterback, but I think he is good because of Tyreek Hill, because of Jalen Waddle, because of the A-Chan running back that they have, because of Raheem Mostert, because of Mike McDaniel being an offensive wizard that he is. And when you look at Tua Tagovailoa, he really is not that good of a quarterback. Now, can he play in the National Football League? Obviously. But when you look at Tua Tagovailoa compared to some of the other quarterbacks in the National Football League, it's no wonder why he doesn't get the respect that he gets. I don't think he's on the level of a Patrick Mahomes, a Joe Burrow, a Josh Allen. You get the picture. I don't think he's a franchise quarterback. I think he's a good quarterback, but I don't think he's a franchise caliber quarterback. I think he is on the Jared Goff tier where he is a pretty good quarterback, but the problem is Tua Tagovailoa is being compared to some of the top quarterbacks in the National Football League. That is not the case with Jared Goff. When people talk about Jared Goff, they think that he is an average quarterback, but Jared Goff is better than an average quarterback. But when people talk about Tua Tagovailoa, you think of Tua as an elite player, but Tua Tagovailoa is not an elite quarterback. He's not even a top 5 quarterback. I understand that he might be top 5 statistically speaking, but when you actually watch Tua Tagovailoa play, he is not a top 5 caliber quarterback. Tua Tagovailoa is a quarterback that relies on his weapons more than a lot of other quarterbacks would. He relies on throwing the ball to Tyreek Hill a ton, and I understand that they won 30-0 against the New York Jets, but let's be honest, that Jets team was fractured. There's a reason why the Jets are 5-9 and have been eliminated from playoff contention. That's because they are not a good football team whatsoever. I understand that Sauce Gardner is a great player, but they need more than one great player in order to be much of anything in the AFC. When you look at the New York Jets, they're just not legitimate contenders in the AFC, and that's been the theme of the Miami Dolphins the entire season. Just beat up on bad football teams, and whenever you actually play against a decent football team, you end up losing the game. Now, the Dolphins are 0-3 against teams over 500. Those teams include the Buffalo Bills, that was back in week 4, and then there was the Philadelphia Eagles back in week 7, and then there was the Kansas City Chiefs in week 9. When you look at this Miami Dolphins team, they really haven't beaten anybody significant. I mean, their best win was against the Denver Broncos in week 3. Yes, I know they scored 70 points. Yes, I know that they won by 50 points, and the Denver Broncos are now a 500 football team. But when the Miami Dolphins played the Denver Broncos, they were a horrible football team, because when they played the Broncos, they were 0-3 and they hadn't found an identity with Sean Payton. Well, the Denver Broncos have now found an identity. Now the Denver Broncos are a 500 football team. When you look at this Miami Dolphins team, they're just quite frankly not that impressive. All they do is front run on bad teams, and whenever they have to play against an actual good football team, they always lose. But hey, here's the good thing with the Miami Dolphins. We get to find out what they're made of in the final 3 weeks of the season, because they get to play against teams with winning records. Matter of fact, they're probably going to play against 3 teams that are going to be in the playoffs, because they get to play against the Cowboys this Sunday, they get to play the Ravens in week 17 at Baltimore, and then they get to finish off the season against the Bills at home. When I look at this Miami Dolphins schedule, I'm expecting a loss in all of those games. Now, maybe the Dolphins steal one of those games, but when I look at this Miami Dolphins schedule right now, I don't feel great about their chances, because I don't think they won't beat the Dallas Cowboys. I think the Cowboys are a better football team than the Miami Dolphins. Yes, the Dallas Cowboys got killed to the Buffalo Bills, but that's because the game was in cold weather. Dome teams don't play great in cold weather. They get to play in warm weather. So when you look at this Cowboys team, they're going to be at an advantage on Sunday, because it's not like they're only playing in cold weather. They'll be fine offensively. Dak Prescott is going to have a bounce back game. I know a lot of people are ragdolling on him and calling him trash right now, but that's the theme with Dak Prescott. You guys got to understand the Dak Prescott cycle. The Dak Prescott cycle includes him having a bad game that everybody craps on him, but then Dak Prescott front runs all the time and puts up great stats, and then everybody will shout Dak for MVP. Then he ends up having a bad game. So you guys have to understand the ebbs and flows of dealing with Dak Prescott. I'm not saying Dak Prescott is an elite quarterback. I'm just saying what's the truth. And the truth is Dak Prescott is a pretty good quarterback, but he can also be a streaky quarterback. Now, obviously, the Cowboys are coming off of a bad loss to the Buffalo Bills, but they are going to get their act together and they're going to beat the Miami Dolphins. I sense that's going to happen because Dak Prescott is going to play good football. He's going to get his mistakes corrected. I think the Cowboys defense is going to show up. I think Micah Parsons is going to have a bounce back game. I know that he was rendered as a useless player for the Cowboys last week against the Buffalo Bills, but he's going to have a good game on Tua Tagovailoa in the Miami Dolphins. As for Tyreek Hill, he's still not 100%. He still has the ankle problem. We'll see if he can play this Sunday, but even if Tyreek Hill plays, he's not going to be himself. I understand Tyreek Hill has had an incredible season. I think he's legit. I don't think Tyreek Hill is overrated at all. If anything, I think Tyreek Hill is underrated. I mean, you look at Tyreek Hill's stats, he is on the verge of getting over 100 catches on the season. He has gotten over 1,500 receiving yards. He's leading the NFL in touchdowns despite missing a game with 12 touchdowns. There are so many things that Tyreek Hill does on the football field that make you say, wow, he's a special football player because he can run deep routes, he can catch the football, he has blazing speed all over himself, and there's really not a lot of weaknesses when you look at Tyreek Hill. When you look at Tyreek Hill, you're thinking he's the best wide receiver in the game of football. I know Tyreek Hill is legit. I don't think Tyreek Hill is overrated at all. As for Tua Tagovailoa, yes, I think that he is an overrated football player. I don't think he's that good of a quarterback. I think that he can play in the league, but I think he's a system quarterback, and there's nothing wrong with the system quarterback. That's just the way how Alabama quarterbacks have been. That's why I never really like quarterbacks from Alabama, because I don't really think that they're prepared well for the NFL level. But the Miami Dolphins realized that, hey, since we got an Alabama quarterback, let's try to recreate Alabama with the Miami Dolphins. Let's try to get better athletes on the field than everybody else, particularly at wide receiver, because we know Tua Tagovailoa has a noodle arm, so he can't necessarily throw deep. So let me just get athletes in space like Tyreek Hill, like Jalen Waddle, like Raheem Mostert, like A-Chan. When you look at this Miami Dolphins squad, they are a team that is filled with blazing speed all over themselves. Now, you guys know that I have never been high on the Miami Dolphins the entire season. Yes, I figured that they would be a playoff team early in the season, but do I think the Miami Dolphins are going to go far in the playoffs? Absolutely not. When you look at the contenders in the AFC, they're not better than the Baltimore Ravens. They're not better than the Chiefs. Maybe they're better than the Jacksonville Jaguars, but the Jacksonville Jaguars are having their own free fall right now. They look like they are a fraudulent team in the AFC. I'm not even sure if they're better than the Cleveland Browns, because we all know that defense matters come playoff time. But then you look at some of the other contenders in the AFC that I think could beat the Miami Dolphins. I mean, you got the Cincinnati Bengals, you got the Indianapolis Colts, you got the Houston Texans, you got the Buffalo Bills. Those are just some of the teams that you can think of in the AFC. I don't think the Dolphins are Super Bowl caliber. I know some people are saying, oh, the Miami Dolphins, they're going to go to the Super Bowl this year, but I don't buy that whatsoever. The Miami Dolphins, if they're not careful, they could end up being a wild card team. I'm not even sure this Miami Dolphins team could even win this division right now, because like I said, they're going to lose to the Cowboys. I don't think that game's going to be close. I think that's going to be a 2-score game. I think the Cowboys, they're going to bounce back from their struggles against the Bills. They're going to beat the Miami Dolphins, and then they're going to play against the Baltimore Ravens. I don't sense that happening, because the Baltimore Ravens, they are so close to the #1 seed right now, and they can smell blood in the water. And when you get that close, you're not going to choke, particularly a team like the Baltimore Ravens. The Baltimore Ravens are 11-3, but don't be mistaken, they should be 14-0 if they just knew how to hold a lead in the fourth quarter. The Baltimore Ravens are an underrated, good football team in the AFC. They are, in fact, the best team in the AFC in my mind. I think the Baltimore Ravens, they are Super Bowl caliber. At Baltimore, I don't think that the Miami Dolphins have much of a shot against the Baltimore Ravens. I think the Baltimore Ravens are just a better football team, top to bottom. Lamar Jackson's the better quarterback when you compare him to Tua Tagovailoa. Even with the injuries that the Baltimore Ravens are dealing with, I still think they would blow out the Miami Dolphins if they went head-to-head, or if they didn't blow them out, they would beat them rather comfortably. And then they play Week 18 against the Bills. I don't think they're going to beat the Bills, because the Dolphins always get owned to the Bills. The only time Tua Tagovailoa ever beat Josh Allen was in Week 3 of the 2022 NFL season, and that was because the Bills ran out of time on their game-winning drive because they didn't know how to spike the ball in time. When you look at this Miami Dolphins team, yes, they're 10-4. Yes, they've had a good season, but they haven't beaten a team over 500 the entire season, and their best win came in Week 3. We're in Week 16 right now. When you want to talk about recency bias, this is the kind of recency bias that we need, because recency bias is a good indicator of whether someone is going to show up come playoff time, and I don't think the Miami Dolphins are showing up come playoff time. Now, do I think the Dolphins get a wild card spot? Maybe. I think that could happen. They are at 10 wins. It's pretty hard for a 10-win team not to make the NFL playoffs, but they are in the stacked AFC, and if some things don't go their way, they might be out of the playoffs. Obviously, I don't think the Dolphins are going to win another game, but if they do win another game, then yes, they're going to be in the playoffs, but they're going to need to win that other game. The question is, where is that other win going to come from? I think their best shot is against the Dallas Cowboys, because the Cowboys are not a great team on the road. The Cowboys are only 3-4 on the the road this season. The problem is, though, the Miami Dolphins haven't beat a team over 500, and whenever they have to play against a great team, they always lose. And the Cowboys, I consider them to be a good football team. In fact, I consider the Cowboys to be the second best team in the NFC. I think the Cowboys are going back to the championship game. So when you look at this Miami Dolphins team, they got a tough schedule the rest of the way. Yes, they've had the easiest schedule, but now they got the hardest schedule the rest of the way through. Can they beat the Cowboys, Ravens, or Bills? I don't see it happening. They're going to finish the season 10-7. They're going to be a wild card team, and they're going to lose in the wild card round. So to answer the question of whether the Miami Dolphins are overrated, I'm going to say, heck yeah, the Miami Dolphins are definitely overrated. Don't get fooled by the win-loss record. As for Tua Tagovailoa, he's a good quarterback, but don't mistake him as an elite quarterback. Some people are mistaking him as a great quarterback when I just don't see that in him whatsoever. So that's why the Dolphins have become an overrated team, as they will lose to the Cowboys by the score of 31-17. Remember, go ahead and subscribe to Sports Guy Talking, like the video, and please comment down below. If you guys do that, I may shout you guys out in my Instagram story every Monday. That'll be for the @Dustin Instagram account. Make sure to follow me on Instagram @Dustin and at Sports Guy Talking. Also, go follow me on Twitter @Dustin Tran. Again, go ahead and do those things that I just told you guys to go do. Hopefully, you guys enjoyed the content that was just produced. Peace out. I hope you enjoyed that video. Want more Sports Guy Talking, the home of great sports content? Make sure you click that subscribe button to get the latest from Sports Guy Talking. Go ahead and like the video, comment down below, check the description box on the video in order to follow my Instagram and Twitter. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from the YouTube channel Sports Guy Talking.